Hello and welcome to the KPI Institute's webinar, Get the Most Out of Your Data by Using Business Intelligence Software. My name is Andre Costa and I will be your host for today along with our presenter, Adrian Chouteau. This webinar is part of a series of free educational materials that aim to enhance the knowledge and know-how of those interested, while also creating a bridge between us as a company and you, our public. The KPI Institute is a research organization specialized in business performance, and it operates research programs in 12 practice domains, each linked to a certification course, ranging from strategy and KPIs to employee performance and from customer service to innovation performance. The KPI Institute continuously builds on its values of best know-how, data and facts, and common sense to achieve its mission of integrating performance as a discipline through research, publications, and, what interests us today, through educational programs such as this webinar. Today, 13 years after the KPI Institute was created, we can proudly say that our products have reached professionals in 5 continents and that our public comprises a worldwide community of 73,000 members online and 28,000 registered companies on smartkpis.com. Today's webinar provides a great opportunity for professionals to better understand the value brought by the Power BI business intelligence software, and it will be delivered by Adrian Chouteau, the Software Integration Manager at the KPI Institute. He is focused on helping organizations identify and implement efficient software solutions, automate processes, get a clear and transparent view over their data, and improve collaboration. In general, he helps them achieve true performance by leveraging technology. He is passionate about business software and has a natural talent for data and data analytics software. This presentation lasts for approximately 45 minutes. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have during the presentation, as they will be answered at the end of it in our Q&A session. Enjoy the KPI Institute's webinar, Get the Most Out of Your Data by Using Business Intelligence Software. Now I would like to invite Adrian to begin his presentation.
Hello, I'm great to be here with you. Today I'm gonna show you and share with you some information about the business intelligence software, and I would also go through a hands-on approach, and I will demonstrate you some of the most valuable features that Power BI, a data analysis software, has. I would like to begin with the learning objectives. By attending this webinar, you will learn how to identify the benefits that a business intelligence software can bring to your organization. You will also grasp some of the best practices in developing data analysis and visualization. You will understand how to combine data and how to create dynamic reports that will adapt as the source data is modified. So, why do you actually need business intelligence software in your organizations? Any organization that conducts a certain activity encounters a lot of information while doing so. Some information comes from the inside, and there's also a lot of external information. And one of the issues that occurs is the fact that the information is spread across multiple sources and multiple systems. So gathering together all that information, sharing it, keeping it up to date, takes time and attention from the people that are in charge in case you do not have an automatic way of doing it or a specialized software that can do some of these processes in an automatic way. Before going further, I would like to ask you a question. How many of you are currently using a business intelligence software? I would like you to answer with yes or no in case you are using a business intelligence software or not, and you will have 1 minute to answer this question. Apparently, all of those who have answered my questions are telling me that they are not currently using a business intelligence software. Well, this might not be the best approach, but I'm sure that there are some people here who are using it, but maybe they weren't quick enough to answer this question. So let me go further and show you what makes a business intelligence software efficient and how can it actually benefit your organizations. First of all, as I've said, the data is spread across a lot of sources. Of course, ideally, you would have a single system like an ERP system that combines all the data that results from your organization's activity, but maybe you want to combine that data with something from an external database. For example, you might want to add information about, let's say, the GDP or the Human Development Index inside the countries you are doing business in order to see the correlation between those indicators and your, let's say, sales results. Or you might want to include some more complex data. So when it comes to data and when it comes to the various ways it is structured in different SQL databases, even files like Excels or CSV files, and of course also business applications like applications for customer relationship management or software for email newsletter and so on, it is very important to have a single system, in this case the business intelligence system, that can combine data from all those various sources without having the need to put someone copy and paste the data in a single place before. Also, it is very important to get a comprehensive reporting. Well, by comprehensive reporting, in this case, I mean that you will actually have the ability to choose any information you want to choose from the information available in the data source. So basically, you're not limited to use only some information, only some columns, or only some fields when designing reports. You can basically choose any piece of information that exists within the selected data sources. And also it is very important to be a flexible reporting. And by flexible reporting, I mean that you don't necessarily have to alter information in the source in order to get some new columns or some new indicators and so on. So you are able to add these pieces of information directly into your business intelligence software, and therefore you will not have to store it in your databases. That gives a lot of flexibility, and also, of course, you need to have very powerful filtering capability in order to be able to adapt your reports to various situations. Also, sharing is very important, and when it comes to sharing, one very important aspect is to have the capability of sharing that information or that report that results from your data analysis with people who are, let's say, non-users of the software. So basically with people who do not have an account or who do not know how to use the software. An efficient business intelligence software should give you the capability of sharing that piece of information with anyone you want within your organization or not. Also, automatic updates. Well, automatic updating a report means that each time the data is changing in the source, or let's say each time new records are added in the source, the report is also getting this new data and its visualizations are adapted without any human intervention. Ideally, the automatic updates would occur every time the information is updated, but if this is not possible, they should occur at least once or a few times a day. Also, it is very important to be user-friendly and to be available for the reports. It is important to be available both on desktops and on mobile devices. I would like to present you a real case scenario right now. Well, let's assume that a professional wants to develop a report in its business intelligence software. So he decided to add some data from the cloud CRM system. And when you have a cloud CRM system, you do not have direct access to the SQL database behind him, because usually the vendor, the one who produces the software and sells it to you, keeps the database in his own servers. So you do not have direct access, and you will need a different type of pre-built connectors in order to access that database with a business intelligence software. Well, after using such a connector and connecting to the CRM system, he decides to combine this data with data coming from an SQL database, data that is generated as people are placing orders on the online store of the organization. And also he decides to combine this data with a local Excel file that contains the GDP of each country they're conducting business in. After he decides that these are the three sources that he will use, he can choose any information, basically any column that is contained within those three databases. And then by using relationships, he can combine the data between tables. Well, as I've said, if you have a flexible reporting system or a flexible business intelligence system, you can also alter data directly into the business intelligence software. And that's what he does. He creates new columns directly into the business intelligence software. After having every piece of data, he builds a report. And after finishing creating the reports and every visualization, he publishes this report. And he also makes sure that he sets auto-refreshing moments. And after making sure that everything works fine, he will share the report with every stakeholder. On the next topic, I'd like to talk to you about some of the data quality principles that must be respected in order to empower a professional to efficiently use a business intelligence software or any other software that was built for data analysis. So basically, there are some key points to take into consideration when preparing data. Some of them are very simple, are very logical, and some of them are some more, let's say, complex things, or some things that not everyone is doing or using in their everyday activity, except of course those who are extensively working with databases. So the first principle is to divide the data within your cells. So basically, if you look in the first example, you can see that the name is actually containing two pieces of information. It's containing both the first name and the last name. And also the job title contains two pieces of information. It contains both the actual job title and the company name. And that is a very bad practice because it does not help analyzing data. Well, a well-divided data means that for each piece of information, you have a separate column. You can see that you have the first name, the last name, the job title, and the company, each of them in separate columns in this second example. Also, what you must take into consideration is that you have to store a single value in a cell. So basically, you cannot store multiple values like multiple email addresses or multiple phone numbers in the same cell. If it is the case, you can create different columns. You can create primary email, secondary email, third email, and so on, in order to be able to store the additional data. So in these cases, you can see that in the first example, the date is actually two pieces of date, and in the second example, which is the good practice, each date, the start date and the end date, are divided in separate columns. And when this is actually one of the biggest issues that you encounter while working with data. Data in many cases is not standardized. What means that? Well, it basically means that the same information can be stored in different ways. Like, for example, in the first table, you can see that in the field country, in the last field, there is actually the same country, the United States of America. but someone typed in United States, someone else typed in United States of America, and someone just typed in USA. And that's a bad practice. The good practice is to standardize that information or to make sure that everyone types in the same information. And one very useful method of making sure that this happens is to use drop-down lists wherever it is possible. Also, you might need to take into consideration one very important principle, especially when designing a relational database. One table, it is supposed to contain only one type of record. If you look in the first picture, you will see that we have a table for orders. But besides the information that is regarding the order directly, like order number and ID and order quantity, you can also see that there are a lot of information that regard the customer, and there are also information regarding the product. And that's a bad practice because it does not have a logical structure, and it makes data analyzing really a really hard process, because you will basically have to look around and to identify a few columns in a lot of options. But if you use the relationship database model, or it doesn't even have to be a relationship database model, you can just build Excel files and respect this principle, you can basically just create different tables for each type of record. You have a table for orders, which is linked to the table of customers through a unique identifier number called ID. And also this is linked to the table products through another unique identifier called, again, ID, this time for the products. Also, you have to pay a lot of attention to the format of data. So if you're talking about date, the data must be formatted as date. If you're talking about numbers, it has to be formatted as number, and so on. And also, I have mentioned before the unique identifier. Each record should have a unique identifier. And this unique identifier is basically just a column with usually numbers. You start from 1 and you go all the way down to the last record, and it is usually called ID. So let's take a look at some of the best practices in developing visual reports. First of all, it is very important to understand which data is best visualized through each type of charts. So basically, if you want to use line charts, you have to take into consideration that they track changes over time, and they also can show relationship between two or more variables. Also, bar charts are used to compare quantities of different categories. In this case, you can see that there are 3 indicators displayed in some bar charts. Pie charts are used to compare parts of a whole. So basically, we have, in this case, a report coming from the Human Resources Department that contains every day, or the sum of the days that people were not at the office. And the question was, why weren't they at the office? What was the reason? So you have the big picture, and you also have it divided by reasons of absence. If you want to show the joint variation of 2 data items, you will use the scatter plots usually. And well, basically there are 2 columns, and each item is placed in the right place, so it displays it points, let's say, to the corresponding values. And also there's bubble chart. Basically, the bubble chart is like the previous graph. The only difference is that we have another additional variable, and that additional variable, which in this case is the number of registered customers, one variable that you do not see on any of the axes, is actually the variable that determines the size of the circles. So if there are more registered customers within a country, the circle will be larger. Well, when designing reports, you also have to ensure readability. What this means? Well, it means that you need to pay a lot of attention to the combinations of colors that you use, and you also have to pay attention to the size of your visualization and especially to the size of the figures that are displayed there. So I will just show you a bad practice, an example of a report that is hard to be read. As you can see, you can barely determine the figures next to the visuals, and well, also the axes are not very good visible. And this is an example of a good practice. This is a good example where everything is visible and you can easily read it. Also, when you have very large numbers, like in this case, you can shorten them and display a symbol at the end of the numbers. If you look at the image, you will see that there is a value where the mouse is pointed. There is a value of 6,434 US dollars. And next to the graph, you have a value of 64.4K. So basically, I'm limited the numbering, but I also make sure that when someone goes with the mouse there, they can see the whole figure. Also, it is very good to be consistent in design. What this means? Well, it means that when you decide on a structure that you will use, you will try to use it across multiple reports that are related, let's say, to the same data, so that it will become easy for the end users to identify different elements of the report and to quickly figure out what these reports are about and how to efficiently use them. In the next session, I would like to actually show you some of the, let's say, most interesting tips and tricks about Power BI. So basically, Power BI is a business intelligence software. It was developed by Microsoft, and one of its main characteristics is that it is offered for free. It also has a pro version, but when it comes to analyzing and visualizing data, the free version of Power BI gives you exactly the same tools and methods and features as the pro version of Power BI gives. So basically, this is a very big advantage, let's say, for Power BI against its competitors. So I will just switch to Power BI right now. Okay, when it comes to getting the data, I was talking before about the multitude of data sources. Well, Power BI has a lot of sources that it allows you to get data from. You can select files like Excel, for example, or text or CSV and so on. And you can also select pretty much any type of SQL database available. And what's even more important is that it has some pre-built connections to online services. You can see here Salesforce, Google Analytics, Facebook, GitHub, Microsoft Dynamics 365, and so on. So basically what you have to do in order to connect to any of these online services, you will use a link that is provided within the service, and it is specific to your organization, to your profile, and you will then just have to log in by using your username and password. And you will get every table available within the system here in Power BI, and you will be able to start analyzing the data. But what I wanted to show you today, or the first tip, is about the way you manipulate data directly into Power BI. So I will just go and click on Get Data. And I can also connect to my cloud service. I'm using OneDrive for Business, so I can easily connect to OneDrive for Business. I've clicked on OneDrive for Business. Now it will ask me for an URL that I will just copy for the file that I want to get. I click on OK. And now I have my information. This is an Excel file. It contains 2 sheets, and I can see every worksheet here. So basically, I have selected the Open Courses worksheet, and I will just click on Edit in order to edit this information. Now, as I've said, you might not want to take into consideration every column or every piece of information that you have in a database. This is a table with a few columns, but you might have tens of columns in a table. So in order to remove columns from a table, you have a very nice feature called Choose Columns. And if you use this feature, you can basically select the columns that you want to, let's say, remove from the table. This does not alter the data source in any way. So you still have everything in your database. You're just eliminating the column in the Power BI report. So now that I have removed the column, I don't see it here anymore. But if for any reason I decide that that was a mistake and that I still want that column, I can just go here, click on this little icon, and I get a list with the columns again, so I can easily include this column once more in the report. Of course, we're talking about one column. It's not such a big deal in this case, but if you would have 30 columns and you would like to remove 16 of them, it would be very hard to start all over again, to re-import data and so on. So I'll just put the column back. Now we do have all the columns, and I'll apply the changes. So basically, it is going to load my data right now, and I do have here a canvas. This is where I'm going to build the actual report. So I do have the tables here. I have previously uploaded another piece of information, which is a calendar. So basically what this calendar is a table. It was an Excel table also that contains every date from 1900 to 2500, I think. And it also contains information like which is the year for each of the days, which is the quarter, which is the month, and so on. So why do I need this table? I need it because when it comes to date intelligence, Power BI has some limitations. So if you want to get some more data intelligence, you will like to use this type of table too. I'll just go back and I will really quickly create a visual. It's a basic pie chart, and I will take as its value the, let's say, won prospects. Okay, so now basically I see the total won prospects. I have 43 won prospects in my open courses table. But what I want to see them splitted by the month they were won. So in order to do this, I have to create a relationship between the two tables. Creating relationships is very easy. You just drag and drop the items and you have your relationship right there. So now that I do have the relationship, I can go ahead and use the month name as an axis value. So now basically I can see how many prospects I won on each month. Easy drag and drop actions. Of course, you have to have the data structured as it is supposed to in order to leverage data analysis. Also, I would like to make this more visible, so I'll just change its color. I'm talking about the values that are along the axis, and I will just increase the font. And I also want to see which are the actual values. So I will just add some data labels, and I will change the color once more and make them much larger. Okay, so this is basically one visualization. But what I really do like about Power BI is the fact that you can use some very advanced filtering or some, let's say, very user-friendly and very efficient filtering. features. So basically, I have just dragged the filter here. I've called it. It is based on the course. So there are different type of courses that are organized over and over again. So that's why we have the same course organized on multiple months, and of course we have multiple attendees to each of the courses. I want to include a select all button, and I don't want it to be single selection. Okay, maybe you have also noticed this blank value here. Well, this happened because when I load the data, the open courses calendar, it also took me some extra cells from Excel, which are basically blank cells and they were not supposed to be there. And this is very, very important because you can also use it to eliminate some of the data. Let's say that I don't want to see the courses that were organized by CP. I just uncheck that option and the data is eliminated. But it is very important that it is not eliminated from the source once more, and I can anytime come back and include that value in my report. So what I will do, I will just eliminate these null values that were not supposed to be there anyway. I click close and apply. And as you can see, the blank value has disappeared. And why is that? Well, because each of the course is having a value in the field course. So now I can filter it by course. I will also add the capability of filtering this report by month. So I will just create another slicer. That's how these filters are called in Power BI. They are called slicers. And what I wanted to show you here is the fact that data is not sorted as it should be sorted. And it also lacks the year. So what I want to do, I will first of all change this with the month and year indicator, which will actually show me the year. But well, the problem is that it is not sorted first of all, and then of course there is a problem with the actual years that are displayed because it basically displays me every year that I have in the table with the calendar. So in order to overcome this, I will just go into my data table in my calendar table, and one very nice feature of Power BI is that it allows you to sort the column based on the values from another column. So if I'll just go and search for the I will just go and search for the month and year. There it is. I can just click on this, go on modeling, and I will select sort by column month index. So it will basically sort these columns as they are supposed to be sorted. So you can see that now you have the right the right order. But there's another problem, of course, because I do have the a lot of years and I do not want this. So basically what I will do, I will just go ahead and select this month index and I will add it as a report level filter and go to advanced filtering. No, sorry, that was not. Let's go for the years. Sorry about that. I forgot to make a step before to format that column as it was supposed to format, and I don't wanna waste more time now. So as you can see, I can say that the year is greater than or equal to, let's say, 2016 for this situation. So now I only get days that are after 2016, and I also want them to be less than or equal to, let's say, 2018. So now I get a much more relevant time frame for my data analysis. And What I really like about this is the fact that if you select some of the data, you will see all the data adapting in real time. So basically, if I select all this, the data gets updated in real time. If I also select something from here, you can see that the data is getting updated in real time. So basically, you can very easily change this type of visualization by using once more just drag and drop, and you can also add the percentage of total, and you can also add the actual value and so on. So basically, Power BI really empowers you to do a lot of great things as long as you do have a nice data structure and as long as you do have some, let's say, a clear view over the data that you're looking to get and also over the way that you want to display data. And the last thing I want to show you is a more advanced report or a more complex one because it will take me some time to develop it here so that you can see how it looks like. So basically I have the filters here. If I select one filter, you will see that the information is getting updated. If I select something from here, you will see that in the other graph, I will get the information updated, and I also get the information updated on these cards. So basically, I have a lot of flexibility and I can visualize information the way I want it. And another very interesting thing that I like about this software is, yeah, as you can see, I have kept the same filters, the same structure for every pages. As I've said, you should be consistent in design. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select all of those filters from here because I know I'm going to use them on the next page too for another visualizations. I have hit Control C to copy them, and here I click Control V and I get the same filters as I get here. So it saves me a lot of time because I would have to create each of them, to go to change its colors and so on in order to get to this result. So you can easily copy items from one page to another. Well, that was my practical demonstration. I know that there were a lot of other features that I couldn't show you, but unfortunately the time was rather short. But if you would like to find out some more about Power BI, do not hesitate to contact us and we will be happy to help you. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm glad I was here. And now I will let my colleague Andrei continue this presentation.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Adrian. And now we'll move on with the Q&A session. So if there are any questions, feel free to address them now. Well, there seem to be no questions as of now, but if you remember anything that you would like to know, feel free to contact us via email and we'll be sure to send you an answer as soon as possible. But this concludes today's webinar. Adrian, do you have any last words for our listeners?
Yes, I would like to thank them a lot for their attention, to wish them good luck, and hope to see them again soon. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you very much once again for your presentation. The KPI Institute appreciates your interest in the webinar Get the Most Out of Your Data by Using Business Intelligence Software. Follow our websites and our social media channels to find out more details and to subscribe to our next webinar, Benchmarking Methodologies, Which One is the Best?, which will be held on the 30th of August by Alina Mirtoiu, the Director of the Center for Performance Benchmarking. Also, if you're interested in getting a certification granted by the KPI Institute on vital areas within the performance management discipline, you can explore our scheduled courses on marketplace.kpiinstitute.org. Thank you again for your participation and have a nice day.